and welcome to this live stream. Today I'm gonna talk about some stuff that happened this week in tech, and not only hey guys and welcome to this live stream. Today I'm gonna talk about some stuff that happened in tech this week, and not only Apple launched stuff this week, also Sony announced the PS4 Pro and Slim. Then the Oculus Touch controllers have their prices leaked. The LG V20 reviews are in, and spoiler alert, they are a bit better than the G5 reviews. The Note 7s are still exploding, so there is a recall now, and you can buy a killer USB stick that can kill every device with a USB port on it, at least. Almost everyone. And of course, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the chat or later down in the comments, and I will try to answer them. And also, later at the end of the stream, I will talk about some exciting things that are happening behind the scenes. So why don't we just get started with the first topic, and this is the Apple launch event. You maybe have heard already a few things about it, and I guess it is pretty clear that they launched the iPhone 7 as we were all expecting, and there are quite a few things that are changed compared to the 6S. Other things stay the same, so I will just quickly go over the basic changes and what I think about it. So first up, you can see here on the screen that there is now a new color option that is jet black, which is a fancy word for saying that it is a glossy black finish, like a piano finish. I think it looks absolutely amazing, but as soon as you touch it, it will get full of fingerprints and it will scratch up very easily. So if you want to use it, you will have to put a case on it if you want to use it for more than a day. So I wouldn't buy that really. But what I would buy is the new black version, just normal black instead of jet black. And I think this looks really sleek, and as it is a matte finish, it won't get fingerprints on it as soon, and scratches won't show as easily as well. And you can also see in this picture a bit that you don't have this ugly antenna band anymore that was present on the previous phones. You only have a little bit antenna band over here, but you can't really see it in the pictures. I don't know how it will be in the real world, as I haven't seen it. On this picture, you can also see that there are two models, the iPhone 7 and the 7 Pro. The 7 Pro this time isn't only bigger, it also has some other features like the dual cameras that you can see here, but I'm gonna get into that a bit later. Here is also another nice close-up shot of the jet black finish, and I mean, in the pictures it looks amazing, and it would look amazing on a shelf as well, but you just can't handle a finish like that. And this here is an image of the new home button. You might think that it didn't change, as in the pictures the home button looks pretty similar. But in fact it is changed dramatically, as you can't physically press it down anymore. Instead it uses the same technique that is used on the trackpad on the MacBook, which Apple calls Force Touch. It's also the thing that was in the iPhone 6S, on the screen already, but instead it is now on the home button, and the taptic engine is under the home button. So if you press down on the home button, it won't press down, but it will feel like it, as the taptic engine will make that feel. And judging by the MacBook, which I own, it is really, really convincing, and you only notice it if you try to press it when the phone is off, or the MacBook respectively. I think that this change is very good. I know some people don't like this change, they prefer the standard home button, but that way you can't only like customize the way the home button feels. Maybe you can also customize how hard you have to press. The best thing is that at least on the older iPhones, I don't know if this problem still exists on like the 6Ss, the home button would degrade in quality over time and were like stiffer to press or very weak to press. This won't happen with something like that. But like there of course still is Touch ID in the home button, and it didn't change from the looks anything. Also, they have like a brighter display, and they have a wider color gamut. This basically for you just means that the colors look a bit more vibrant, as they can display more colors. But I think an OLED display would still be better, as they didn't put an OLED in it, although all the competition is doing it. I don't know why, but they decided not to. On this topic, they also didn't upgrade the screen resolution, which is kind of disappointing, as even the Pro variant has only a 1080p display, and the normal variant has only a 1334 by 750 display, which for this day and age isn't really that much. Of course, in like normal viewing distance, you don't really notice it that much, but I think it's now 2016 and most other competition smartphones have a 1440p display, even in like normal iPhone 7 sizes. But the camera is one thing that they improved again, and if it is only the slightest bit like they said and showed on stage, it's gonna be amazing. They upgraded the camera on the standard version as well. It now has optical image stabilization as well, which in the last generation only the Pro version had. They have a quad tone LED flash, as apparently dual tone isn't enough. So the flash is now even stronger, and it can adjust even better at whatever. And an amazing thing about this new camera is also in the software, which I'm gonna talk about a bit later. And there are some really interesting things. And if we go to the 7 Pro model, it gets even more interesting, as there are now two cameras. One is the standard wide-angle lens that we all know, and the other one is a telephoto lens, which is a factor by 2. So it is like you zoom in with digital zoom factor 2, but it is the same 12 megapixel camera, which is gonna get you some quite high quality zoom images. The way they implement it in software is that you can either choose like the camera, you can choose 1x or 2x. This is going to use the picture directly from this sensor, or you can zoom smoothly between the two, which is going to use digital zoom as well. And you can also zoom on up to 10x digital zoom, which I wouldn't recommend, as the picture then isn't going to look that great. But if you are like at 2x, it's going to use the full quality of the sensor, which should give you some quite nice pictures. But that's not all that those two cameras can do, because they are both really good cameras. In the as called portrait mode, these two cameras work together, and this is by they both go to the focal length of the telephoto lens. So the wide angle lens is gonna use digital zoom, but what they can do now is basically like 3D cameras, as there are two cameras next to each other. That way they can see the depth of the whatever you are taking a picture of, which what that allows them to do is make fake bokeh. But we have seen like fake bokeh in some other smartphones, but it wasn't really that good, because it didn't use depth information. But now with this they can basically like a human determine how far an object is away, and that way apply the bokeh much more smoothly. And like the image they showed on stage was really, really good. It looked like from a professional full frame camera. Of course I can't confirm if it was really taken with that, but at least they claim it is. And also, like basically all the rumors said, the headphone jack officially is dead, but instead they are giving us stereo speakers, at least like stereo speakers, as they still have the downward facing speakers on the bottom, and also they are using the top grill, like the earpiece, as a second speaker. And if you have your phone in landscape, it will use it as stereo speakers. But of course the bottom speaker is still going to face downwards and fire the sound downwards. They claim that it is 2 times louder. I can comment on that as I haven't tested it myself, but I for sure would have preferred the headphone jack to stay. The way they do it is they provide lightning headphones inside the box for you, like these people that anyways use the earbuds that are included. And what is quite surprising for Apple, they actually include the lightning to headphone jack adapter in the box and don't charge you like $60 for it. And also if you lose it, it isn't even expensive to that adapter. It's like under $10 I think, which is quite surprising for Apple, but it's a shame that you even need to use an adapter. And if you want to charge your phone at the same time as you want to listen to music through a headphone jack, you need to have a lightning splitter and then use the headphone jack adapter from the lightning adapter and giant dongle mess and whatever. It reminds me of my only USB Type-C port on the MacBook, where I have to use like 3 dongles connected to each other, but never mind. That's a different topic. Also, they are recommending for you to use Bluetooth headphones. For me, it wouldn't matter that much as I'm using Bluetooth headphones anyways, and at home I'm connecting via Wi-Fi to my speakers, so I'm not using the headphone jack on my phone that often, but I know that many people like to use normal headphones, and that's not gonna be happening with the iPhone 7. They also improved the processor. They now have their new A10 chip, which supposedly is even faster than the previous generation, like by 40% I think they said. And what they are doing in there, they have 2 high performance cores, which are like the 2 main cores. If you're gaming or so, it is gonna use these cores primarily. And they have also 2 other cores, but the other cores are low power cores. And if you're just doing basic things like checking your emails or texting, it can use those cores and significantly save in energy, and the battery is gonna last longer, hopefully, at least with this implementation. And of course Apple's gonna every year gonna improve their processor, because why wouldn't they? And what is kind of surprising to me is they didn't kick the iPhone 6s out of the lineup, because they still have it in here. And by the way, did I mention that they finally got rid of the 16GB model? I don't know how it can be 2016 and still we have a 16GB model. Now finally they changed it and they just doubled the storage on everything. What I find kind of sad is that there is no 64GB option. So if you need more than 32, you have to go through 128, but I guess that's a marketing strategy. But what they do is they also double the storage on the 6S and 6S Plus, and you can still buy those. And of course you can still buy the iPhone SE, but you still get the 16GB option there. I don't know why. It's just stupid, but never mind. So here you can see the colors again. Of course they still have pink and gold and gray. Sadly they got rid of space gray, but I guess it makes sense if they introduce 2 new blacks that they get rid of one color, as it doesn't make sense to have too many colors in your lineup. But I mean, sorry, I missed one really key feature of the new iPhone 7, and it is that it is also water resistant, which is a first for Apple products. While the 6S wasn't that prone to water damage, it didn't have an official rating, but now you can safely fall into the pool or dunk your iPhone into the toilet and it won't break on you, which I guess is quite a good improvement, as previously that was a problem with the iPhone and only Android phones were waterproof. But yeah, all in all, I think I quite like the iPhone 7. The design is pretty similar to the iPhone 6S, except like the 2 new colors. And if I was a iPhone user, I would definitely buy the 7 Plus, especially with the dual cameras, which I guess is really a nice feature to have, as oftentimes you want to get a bit of closer in with your smartphone camera, but you don't really want to use digital zoom, so it is nice to have a second camera. And also these depth of field features that they are going to introduce into the software are quite nice. So now enough about the iPhone itself. After the iPhone, they also announced new earpods. I already talked about the Lightning earpods that are included in the box, but now that they don't have a headphone jack anymore, they of course need to offer Bluetooth earpods as well. And in standard Apple fashion, these aren't gonna be cheap. Actually, they cost around $160 for the pair. But I'm just gonna quickly show you, this is how they look. I think the design looks really similar, like you just cut off the cord on a standard set of headphones, but some people really like this design. I personally, find it absolutely hideous, but the tech that is in those actually is kind of amazing, as fully wireless earphones have only just this year started to hit the market, with I think Samsung released the pair, and previously they just plain sucked. There were a few, but they had immense problems with connectivity, but now it looks like they figured it out, and Apple also put a new specially developed chip in there that is going to improve everything. You get them in like a little box. Sorry if I just bumped the microphones, rip headphone users. And you get it in like a little carrying case where they charge as well. With that case you get around 24 hours of listening time. On one charge they hold 4 hours, at least that's what Apple is claiming. And this case allows you to pair them really easily by just pressing the button on the case, and it will get a pop-up on your phone and you can accept there. No need to pair them individually by Bluetooth with your phone and fiddle around with everything. Just quick and easy. You can also pair them to your MacBook or your iMac and everything, but as far as I understood, it's not gonna be compatible with any other devices other than Apple themselves, as they have some proprietary tech in there. But I'm not really that mad for them, as the standard Bluetooth isn't really that good for fully wireless earphones, and so they did apparently do quite a lot of nice things in this new earbuds, which then makes sense that they have a proprietary, but of course it's Apple, so you wouldn't expect anything else. So yeah, that's just something I would mention. I think they are too expensive, but on the other hand, other fully wireless earpods are not cheaper. And that leads us to the final big thing that they announced, and this is the Apple Watch Series 2. We were all kind of expecting that they would do something like that, and of course they did. From this design, it looks almost identical to the first series, but they still have some quite amazing changes that they did. For one thing, it is also water resistant like the iPhone, which now allows you to swim with them, and they are actually endorsing you to swim with them, and they talked quite a bit about that, how they tested it and everything, and how they made it that the speaker pushes out the excess water inside of the watch instead of covering the speaker and everything. But also it now has built-in GPS, which is something that the runners under you will appreciate, as you don't have to carry your phone with you anymore to track your runs. And so this is going to be quite a nice feature. And while you're out in the sun, you can now also see the display a lot better, as they doubled the brightness. At least that's what they're claiming, and this will allow you to see the display in the sun a lot better, which in my opinion is needed, as it wasn't that bright before the display. Also, they ditched the gold variant in the second series. I guess it didn't sell that well, but instead they are introducing a ceramic series, which in my opinion is a far better idea than gold, but I'm not the one that has to decide. This is going to be just plain white, and it's going to be quite hard. They claim that it is like a lot harder than stainless steel, but I guess it's not going to scratch, but instead if you bump it really hard it could chip. At least that's what I would guess, but I'm sure they did something with it to reinforce it enough. And I don't have a picture of it right now here to pull up, but I think it looks quite good, the white version. So, and also they of course partnered again with other brands to bring the more of the watches. They partnered with Nike for like a sports watch kind of deal, and for a more business-like or a more sleek way, they partnered with Hermes with different watch bands that you can get. And yeah, that's just a bit what you can see here. And also they are bringing back the first series, and they are putting the same faster processor, which I didn't even mention yet. They also have like a twice as fast processors in there. They are putting that in the first series as well, and they are selling them for $100 cheaper, which is then which is $300. I think no. Actually can't remember the price that on. Oh, here it is. So it is $370 for the Series 2, and I think the Series 1 is going to be $270. So if you want to get it a bit cheaper, you can buy the Series 1, but I would definitely go for the Series 2, as it has some quite good improvements. Okay, and now we talked a lot about Apple already, and I think that is actually enough about Apple, as Apple wasn't the only brand that launched something this week, as PlayStation also launched something, and that being a new PS4, actually two One is the PS4 Pro or PS4 Neo as we knew them before in the rumors. They actually don't call it Neo, they call it Pro, which is the 4K upgrade which we were all expecting. It has improved specs, which I'm going to show you right here. If you are interested, you can read through them. I'm not gonna read them for you. It is now allows you to stream and play in 4K, and there, for some reason they didn't include a 4K Blu-ray reader. I really don't know why. It doesn't make sense at all for me. But if you want 4K, you need to stream it from Netflix or Hulu or wherever your favorite streaming site is. And you can also play some games in 4K. Not sure how good this is going to be in 4K. I wouldn't play like Witcher or so in 4K on a console, but that's not me that needs to work that out. Also, it's fully compatible with the PS4. So every game you buy on the PS4, you can play on the PS4 Pro and vice versa. And they do that by just scaling the graphics. Like you don't get 4K and like a bit worse graphics on the normal PS4, and if you have the Pro you can have 4K or otherwise improved graphics or more refresh rate. This is going to allow you to get a bit more performance for your money on the console side. The PS4 Pro is launching for $399. They also announced the PS4 Slim, which I have right here, and this is basically the same as the normal PS4, but it is smaller and it now costs only $300 or $299, which is a good value, and you can play the same games as with the 4 Pro, but just not in 4K. So if you are a console player, maybe you want to go for that, or you want the Xbox One Slim, which has a Blu-ray player 4K, but it doesn't have the more power. So it's for you to decide which camp you are on. But in my opinion, PC is better anyways, but that's not the discussion we are having right now. Another thing that happened is that Oculus is probably going to launch their touch controllers really soon, as some online sites have leaked the price of it. MediaMarkt, which is a German and Swiss electronics store, they listed them for 200 Swiss francs, which amounts to about $200, and that is quite a lot of money for 2 controllers. And just to recap for you really quickly, the HTC Vive has the controllers included, but costs a bit more than the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift doesn't have the controllers included, but costs about, I think it costs $200 less. But if you're gonna get the controllers now, it is the same price as the HTC Vive, which really opens a new debate between the two, as they are now. Previously you could say the Oculus Rift is just a cheaper option, but with the controllers, which I really would get if you are have an Oculus Rift, as the touch controllers, at least in the HTC Vive, are really the thing that make the game and are the big thing that it is amazing to use, as you can track your hands in the VR space, which I couldn't imagine at any time to use just a controller with the HTC Vive. It would completely throw off your senses. But so now when you add the cost of the controllers to the Oculus Rift, you're at basically the same price as the HTC Vive, and then I can't really see a reason why you would buy the Oculus Rift, As with the HTC Vive, you have the option to do it room scale. You can walk around, which on the Oculus Rift isn't possible at the moment, as the tracking area is only for seated experiences. So as long as you aren't using any games that are Oculus exclusives, I don't see a reason why you would go with the Oculus Rift. But maybe the version 2 of Oculus Rift is gonna be better, I don't know. But at the moment, this is where it stands, and of course, this is not a confirmed information, but I would say it is a pretty safe leak, as I also saw a leak of another online store. I think it was like an American online store, which listed it for like $200. So I guess this is where we can expect this. And with that, I'm gonna go to the next topic, which is the LG V20. Last time LG surprised us with the V10, which was a completely different smartphone than every other smartphone that came out this year, and as it had 2 displays, and the V10 also had a rubber back and was like this extreme phone with everything balls to the walls. And on the V20 they are coming back a bit, as they have a bit more subtle design, which in my opinion was the reason why I didn't buy the V10, as I was looking for a smartphone in that time, because I didn't like the rubber backing. But now with the basically fully aluminum phone, I think it looks really sleek, and you also get the dual cameras like on the new iPhone, and in this case they aren't a telephoto, but you have like your standard lens, and you have a standard 16 megapixel camera, and you have a 8 megapixel wide angle lens, which is going to allow you for a more wide picture, but the picture quality isn't going to be that good, as it is only half as much megapixels, and it is only a f2.4 aperture instead of f1.8. But it still is a nice thing to have a more wide angle approach. Also, you can see that the specs are pretty similar to the LG G5, which launched earlier this year, but it didn't really go that well, as I'm sorry, but it frankly wasn't good at all, and the build quality was pretty terrible, and the modular system didn't work that well. But I think the V20 is a much better phone. It looks really elegant. From the back, it has like similarities to other modern smartphones with the design language. The display is really big on the phone, like the display percentage on the front is quite a lot. Also, they improved the display on the top, and I think it is quite an interesting concept with the display in the top. I haven't used it personally, but I think it could be quite useful. But I think it is a nice feature. We're gonna have to see how this phone fares, but that's about it for now. And also, it has a really great audio, as it has like some dedicated amps and decks and whatever, and it is going to give you a superior audio experience if you have like a bit of better headphones that you want to use it. And because you now have to mention it, it also has a headphone jack, but with better audio decks and whatever, that's kind of expected. And also, it is one of the few phones, flagship phones, that you can remove the back and replace the battery, which in turn doesn't allow them to do any waterproofing, but it is nice to see that you can replace the battery and you can expand the storage with micro SD, which is coming back with the Samsung phones and whatever. And speaking of Samsung, their Note 7s are still exploding, which it is not good at all. And so they issued a recall worldwide, although the batteries that were exploding were just in one region. They are recalling all the phones, and they are halting the sales in the places where it didn't launch already. Like here in Switzerland, it was supposed to launch I think this weekend, but they delayed the launch by 2 or 3 weeks to get everything sorted out. The only country that isn't going to change is China. I think it is still going to launch this weekend in China, I think. Not quite sure on that. But yeah. Also, some airlines also responded that by banning next Note 7 owners from bringing their phones on the plane, as it is a security risk. And that's actually not that good, as all the Note 7 trash talk right now I think it's really hurting them, as the iPhone 7 just launched, and I think that's going to help Apple quite a lot. And hey, Felix G and Fun Village in the chat. I don't know why you're thinking that this isn't live. If it wasn't live, I would obviously cut my stupid pauses and misspeakings out. So I don't know what your problem is, but let's get into the last topic for today, and that is a killer USB stick that you can buy. The way that this works is you plug it into any USB port of any device. It can be a PC, it can be a mobile device, it can be an ATM or an airline where you have a USB port, and it's gonna charge up some capacitors inside with the USB power and then fire a high voltage shock, which is going to fry the components that are connected to it. That's not that good if you are the one that owns the thing that is connected to it, but luckily some products already are protected against something like that. But in the future, I'm sure it's going to be a bigger thing that it is protected. But right now, you can actually buy this stick for like $50, and you could destroy stuff, which I am not endorsing in any way, and you should not do anything bad with this stick. I'm just showing it because I think it is interesting. You also can buy a separate board, which is going to make that it doesn't kill the component if you just want to do some testing. And so if someone plugs in a USB stick that looks kind of like this into your computer, don't let them do it. Pull it out right away. But that's just a little funny side note. And that are basically all the topics that I have for this week. Now I'm just gonna quickly tell you about what is going on behind the scenes. And actually, finally, I am as far that I can say that this Monday, part 2 of my CNC building video series is coming out. I finished shooting like the stuff today, and I'm gonna do the voiceover, and so tomorrow, and you can expect the video on Monday about my CNC. I am now to the point where I am not quite finished, but I am really far, and I can see the finish line. From the hardware point, I have basically everything, and mostly it is done. I need to do the electronics and some minor things, but last week actually, you didn't have this podcast because I went to CNC mill the remaining parts on the big CNC. And so this is going to be in the video. I'm also going to show how I assemble it. And now it's at the point where it looks like a working CNC machine. It's not quite wired up and everything, but I think you're gonna like it. It actually, I just watched the first video again, and I was kind of shocked that it was already 4.5 months ago that the original video was released. By now it has like almost 800 views, which is quite good for me. So I'm excited to launch the second video, and I'm also gonna do a third video which is going to cover the electronics quite soon, like 1 or 2 weeks later. And then when everything is done and I did some testing, I'm gonna do a fourth video which is going to show everything again and show what I can do with it. And so that is basically what is going on, and I think I'm going to finish this right here because I want to play some games on my HTC Vive and drool over the Oculus owners, which have to pay $200 to get the touch controllers, which were included with the HTC Vive already. So if you liked this video or stream, depending if you watch live or later, you can leave a like down below, and also sound off in the comments if you have anything to say about what covered in this video. So thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you some other time again.